The Body in the Library, published in 1942, was written by the English writer Agatha Christie, very famous author of detective novels. She spent her entire life writing novels and short stories, from the 20s till her death in 1976. Thanks to her life experiences and her travels, she managed to create extraordinary masterpieces. Her novels are set not only in England, such as the one examined, but also abroad, such as in Egypt and the Caribbean. Thanks to her work for the Red Cross during the First World War, she became an expert in poisons and drugs that will help her in writing her stories. They are always written with great ability, through accurate description, sense of suspense and summary, realistic and detailed environments, profound person or people who have a strong character. She became famous thanks to Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple, two of the most well-known detectives worldwide, and the main characters of many television adaptations. Miss Jane Marple, usually referred to as Miss Marple, is a fictional character appearing in 12 of Agatha Christie's crime novels and in 20 short stories. She appeared for the first time in The Murder of the Vicarage, published in 1930. Miss Marple is an old unmarried woman who likes proclaiming herself an observer of human nature. She is calm, curious, smart, shrewd, ironic, and loves gossip. Thanks to her observation capacity, she managed to solve even the most difficult cases. Being old, when she asks questions, her interlocutors don't understand that they're being questioned. Questions that apparently seem innocent are precise and aimed at solving the crime. Her passions are bird watching and gardening. She often spends time cooking cakes and drinking tea with her friends, who are spinsters like her. St. Mary Mead, the village where she lives, and its inhabitants are both the scenes of some cases, such as in the Examine book, and the model of human community, from which Miss Marple draws her own conclusions. Her favorite place is the garden, where she spends hours trimming, weeding, planting, without losing sight of the street, thus observing everything around her. As she admits, living alone, as I do, in a rather out-of-the-way part of the world, one has to have a hobby. There is, of course, woolwork, and guides, and welfare, and sketching, but my hobby is, and always has been, human nature. So varied and so very fascinating. And of course, in a small village, with nothing to distract one has such ample opportunity for becoming what I might call proficient in one's study. One begins to class people, quite definitely, just as though they were birds or flowers, group so and so, genus this, species that. Sometimes, of course, one makes mistakes, but less and less as time goes on. And then, too, one tastes on oneself. Verily, during her inquiries, her beloved nephew, Raymond West, and his wife are involved in the plot. But they are skeptical and don't believe in the talent of the shrewd old woman. This story begins with the discovery of the body of a young woman in the library of Colonel and Mrs. Bantry. Mrs. Bantry immediately calls in her old friend, Miss Marple, to investigate the crime. The body is identified as a dancer, Ruby Keene, who had worked at a nearby hotel and was in no way connected to the Bantrys. It is also discovered that the young lady had attached herself to a rich old man and his family, and that he had been planning to adopt her and leave her money in his will. Soon afterwards, the body of another young woman is found in a burned-out car. She is thought to be a girl guide, who had disappeared on the same day as the dancer. The crimes seem unrelated, but Miss Marple starts to investigate and finds a connection that enables her to solve the mystery. The novel with the nice old lady has been adapted several times. In the television adaptation of 1984, we can notice a masterful interpretation of John Hickson. The movie is faithful to the novel, both in setting, characterization of the characters, and in the dialogues, even if some changes were made. Superintendent Harper was omitted. Therefore, the scene in which the second body was found varies. In the movie, the one who discovers the body is an inhabitant of St. Mary Mead. However, the police does not believe him, and so he talks about the discovery to Colonel Bantry. The amount of money left to Ruby was changed from 50,000 to 100,000 pounds. Moreover, Mrs. Bantry, after the body was found in the library, calls her friend Jane Marple and drives her to her home. Instead, in the novel, Miss Marple is taken to the Bantry's house by the chauffeur. In particular, there is an interesting element. In trying to solve these murders, the police are pleased with Miss Marple's aid. In fact, they know that, thanks to her intuition, shrewdness, and observing skills, she has already solved other crimes. The novel and the movie make us understand that we cannot just see things superficially, but we have to see them in depth, because there is always a second truth. Miss Marple does not take for granted the simplest and most obvious solution, but investigates looking for the most subtle detail. The others, instead, draw hurried conclusions. Moreover, the author, thanks to her extraordinary shrewdness as regards the world and human nature, makes us reflect upon another aspect. How much we know about people we think we know? People present themselves according to what they say, what they wear, and how they behave. But the most of the time they wear a mask, same intuition and basic concept of the thinking of Luigi Pirandello, who was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature, that was developed in his masterpieces, The Late Mattia Pascal and One, No One and 100,000. In the words of Jane Marple, the truth is, you see, that most people, and I don't exclude policemen, are far too trusting for this wicked world. They believe what is told them. I never do. I'm afraid I always like to prove a thing for myself. Thanks to the excellent, well-made and faithful adaptation of the movie, we can easily understand the ability of the Queen of Mystery, the extraordinary modernity of her stories and characters. Even if the emotions experienced during reading, thanks to the virtuosity of the author, can't be never equaled.